Hi, and welcome to another edition of Junction City News. I'm Ashley Snellenberger, the Communications Director, and your host for tonight. Tonight we have Chris Ewan, who's our Community Development Director, with us, and he is going to talk about the Connect the Junction Master Plan, and this is a draft master plan. So Chris, let's start off with talking about what the Connect the Junction project is and some of the things we've done so far.
Sure thing. Well, over the past year, the city has been working with a company called Framework Cultural Placemaking to create a new plan for the future of the city center and the Pearl Street corridor. Looking at everything from the street design to zoning regulations, which is the rules around what can be built on the properties in the area. This project launched in August of 2024, where there was a study of the existing conditions. And in October 2024, the project team held a public design workshop where a number of the design ideas started to be put together. These were refined throughout 2025, which brings us to where we are now. The draft plan is now available for review, and we're looking for feedback on this plan throughout the summer. We're looking to then incorporate this feedback into a final plan for adoption in the fall of 2025.
Right, so that's a lot of time frame so far, and even more that we're going to be doing. So Chris, tell us why we're doing this project and why it's so important.
Well, this is important because we're in a situation today where housing is simply too unaffordable. We're in a situation where there are not enough homes to rent or buy that meets people's needs and budgets. We've got housing costs that are rising faster than incomes. In fact, 50% of renters in Chittenden County are now cost-burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And get this, 27% of renters in Chittenden County are spending more than 50% of their household income on rent. So this is simply not sustainable, and we are working to address this. So Chittenden County, as of 2022, had a rental vacancy rate of just 1.5%, which is well below the healthy vacancy rates of 4 to 6%. And this is a problem because we know that not having enough homes to rent or buy creates cutthroat competition and drives up prices. And right now, people our community depends on, people our community relies on, like teachers, childcare workers, service and retail workers, they can't find homes that they can afford in the places that they serve. So that's why we're now a part of a joint effort with other municipalities in Chittenden County to plan for nearly 32,000 new homes in the region by 2050. Essex Junction specifically is planning for about 3,000 new homes, which means adding an average of 117 new homes every year.
Wow, that's really fascinating, Chris. And really, you've made a case for why we need more housing and growth in Chittenden County. So specifically, why is the Connect the Junction so focused then on the city center and this Pearl Street corridors?
Well, in short, when we're thinking about growth, we have to choose between growing up or densifying versus growing out or sprawl. Density by itself helps split the cost of infrastructure between more people. This diagram here shows 100 single-family homes on large lots. This purple block represents the amount of space the buildings take up, and the black lines represent the amount of municipal infrastructure it takes to serve these 100 homes. Things like roads, water, and sewer pipes. This diagram, on the other hand, shows 100 homes within an apartment complex. The purple block is the amount of land that the buildings take up, and the short black line here is the length of road and municipal infrastructure that it takes to serve these 100 families. But when we're planning for growth, we also have to think about how people are going to get around. Because cars take up a lot of space, and the more of them we add to the roads, the more congested they get. So we have to think beyond the car. We have to plan for a future where more people choose to travel by walking, cycling, or public transit. And this is an image of the same 200 people traveling within 4 buses. But when we're talking about transit, we've got to focus on corridors where transit works particularly well. These are the corridors where the bus comes the most often because frequency is the key to making transit useful to the average person. And here's a map of Green Mountain Transit's bus services. The colors show how often the bus comes on each route, but the important piece here is the red lines, which shows service that runs every 20 minutes or better throughout the day. You can see that there are not that many of these, but Pearl Street in Essex Junction is one of the few places in the region with this frequent service. And that's why we're planning for growth along the Pearl Street corridor and in the city center. It's also important to note that adding more homes and jobs near frequent service is not only convenient for travelers, but it also builds a ridership to financially sustain public transit. You can take this diagram, for example. These two bus lines cost the same amount to run, but the one on the top has twice as many homes within walking distance as the one on the bottom. So everything else being equal, the route to the top would have twice the ridership.
So really, when we're looking at this, we're looking at housing, we're looking at transportation, and how that's going to affect Essex Junction, because we, as Essex Junction, is pretty landlocked. We've only got 4.6 square miles, so there's not a lot of development for us. And so it really shows how we're trying to look at this strategically as we move forward in the future.
That's right. And not only are we landlocked, there are areas within the city where we can densify even more, and there are areas which we can protect, the green spaces that the community values that we can protect.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about what we needed, the history around this project and why we need this project. Let's get a little bit into this draft master plan. So it introduces what is called the 7 big ideas. Can you tell us what those are?
Sure thing. So the first big idea here is to prioritize people. And that means improving the experience for pedestrians and cyclists while calming the traffic that moves through the area. The second is capitalizing on the Crescent Connector. That's leveraging the city's investment in the new railroad street with the complementary development of retail, housing, open space, and pedestrian space. Number 3, we want to develop to add activities and amenities, making sure that the new development includes amenities for the community through design guidelines and code updates. Number 4, adding housing thoughtfully. We want to be creating new rules to increase the number of homes that can be built and to offer diverse housing options for residents and to meet the city's housing targets. And number 5, make more connections. Improving safety and connectivity for everyone, whether they're traveling on foot, by bike, by transit, or by car. Number 6, we want to make the assets shine, recognizing and leveraging existing community assets like open space and the Champlain Valley Expo. And lastly, number 7, Essex Junction for Essex Junction. This is the big idea that we should be supporting community organizations and local businesses through programming, through marketing, and through public space improvements.
Those seem like some very big ideas. So let's dive a little deeper into those ideas and talk a little bit about some of the ideas you guys came up to maybe achieve some of these goals. So let's start with prioritize people.
Well, there's a lot more than we're going to have time to go over during the show, but I'll go over some of the few ideas and actions that stand out the most to me. One of the proposals under the prioritize people category is to repurpose Memorial Way as a public plaza with pedestrian space and food trucks. So Memorial Way, if you aren't familiar, is currently a cut-through for traffic between Main Street and Lincoln Street. But you can probably count on 2 hands how many cars use it every hour right now. So another idea, another action is to implement the long-awaited Pearl Street Road Diet. So that is moving forward the plans to change the section of Pearl Street between Susie Wilson Road and West Street Extension from a 45-mile-an-hour kind of highway to a more urban, pedestrian-friendly, lower-speed street. So We also have an action to focus on Railroad Avenue as what this project calls People Street. Railroad Avenue, for those who have lived here for long enough, used to have a lot of community events, and the block party took place on there. This project proposes to bring that back, use that space for weekly activities, reroute traffic as needed, but to focus that as a main pedestrian space for the city.
Okay, so our next one is capitalize on the Crescent Connector, which is our most recent developed road in Essex Junction.
So one of the actions that this plan proposes is to rechannelize the connection between Main Street and Park Street to use the new railroad street and to completely avoid using the five corners. I mean, this diagram shows it right here. Starting from Main Street, if you were to go to Park Street, right now you would drive through the five corners, but if we change this so that people had to use the railroad streets and they were banned from going through the five corners, we would be able to take advantage of several benefits. Currently, Main Street has one northbound lane and two southbound lanes, one of which is completely dedicated to traffic flowing to Pearl Street, and the other dedicated to traffic going towards Park Street. But by rechannelizing the traffic headed towards Park Street through the new railroad street, we create an opportunity to narrow Main Street and also reduce wait times for everyone at the Five Corners intersection, while also opening up more space for people on widened sidewalks. A similar arrangement is also proposed for Park Street. You can see here in this diagram, if you're starting from Park Street and you're going towards Maple Street or going towards Main Street, right now you're allowed to use the Five Corners intersection. But with the proposed changes, you would be required to take the new road, Railroad Street. So this would bring similar benefits. This would allow Park Street to be narrowed from a 4-lane cross-section to a 3-lane cross-section, creating more space for pedestrians and bikes and green space amenities like trees. This is all without having to impact the throughput of this area as a whole, and while reducing wait times for everybody at the Five Corners intersection by simplifying the number of movements that go through. Some people may remember a previous proposal to pedestrianize the first 300 or so feet of Main Street, turning the Five Corners intersection into a standard 4-way intersection. That is still something that the plan calls for testing out, but starting with a temporary closure for summer events on a weekend. I mean, we know that there are sensitivities around making sure that the businesses along this stretch of road has the traffic, the pedestrian and the vehicular traffic going through to give them the visibility that they need to thrive. But there's definitely opportunities to try things out.
Okay. So, third big idea, activities and amenities. How does that work into this?
So, one of the actions here is to try to partner with the CVE, the Champlain Valley Expo, on redevelopment opportunities that add amenities and enhance economic development. The CVE is a wonderful place. They've got the fair happens there every year. 2 weeks of the year where the city really comes alive. And there's a lot of other events that happen more in the back of that property. But for most of the year, the area that's fronting Pearl Street, which is really this is one of the most central and convenient places in the city, sit vacant. So we want to see if there are opportunities to partner with the CVE to add the housing, add the retail, to create new event space, maybe ground floor event space. In a way that would be a benefit to the community and also benefit the financial sustainability of the expo. The plan also contemplates the eventual redevelopment of the Pearl Street shopping centers. We know that shopping centers like that they are doing. It's doing relatively well right now. There are some vacancies that come once in a while, but new businesses do come in and fill them. But we also know that the regional trends in that big box retail will eventually be probably reduced in the amount of space that they take up in the city. So we're thinking about how this space might one day be transformed into a mixed-use area with more green space, with more active street frontage, right up against Pearl Streets, and space to house a lot more residents.
Awesome. So we've talked a lot about housing, and the fourth idea is how we can add housing thoughtfully, which is obviously something very important to us.
Well, one of the sub-actions here is to increase the maximum allowable height to 7 stories in the city center and the TOD district, shown here on the map. That would actually mean 8 stories with the affordable housing bonus. To get an idea of what taller buildings might look like, we can look to nearby examples, like the historic Hotel Vermont across from the Burlington City Hall. Well, this building was built in 1911, and this 7-story building now features 6 stories of condominium homes above street level commercial space. But I think it's important to note that this draft plan isn't proposing to add additional height just for vanity. It's really about the fact that each additional floor creates a space for approximately 22 more homes per acre without having to sacrifice additional green space.
That is really fascinating. So let's keep going and let's look at making more connections.
Yeah, so one of the ideas here is that we need to add more crosswalks. We need to add more connections. If you have ever walked along Pearl Street and tried to get across, there are only a handful of crosswalks available. But if you were a public transit user, you'll also know that every time there is a bus stop on one side, you're gonna have to get across the streets at some point to go home. Mm-hmm. And the important thing here is that we create the safe space for pedestrians to be able to get across wherever there is a bus stop and other community amenity that they need to get to.
All right. So number 6 is making our assets shine. How are we going to do that, Chris?
Well, one of the things that we're looking at is not just the study area itself, but what the residents in the study area are going to need to access to live good lives. And I think park space and open space, greenery, that's very important. And the amount of greenery that a city has tends to be fixed. And we really do need to protect it. But we have an asset here right near the city center that frankly is quite underutilized right now. And we propose through this plan to enhance Stevens Park as a community asset, formalizing additional connections and entrances into this park, and just really taking care of it and making sure that people living downtown have somewhere nice and quiet to go.
Awesome. And then our final idea is Essex Junction for Essex Junction. Explain that one to us.
Well, what we're looking at making sure that Essex Junction stands out as a community in itself, not just as a suburb of Chittenden County. Essex Junction really is a unique place with its own programming, and we want to support more community events and programming, and also to explore a Main Street type organization for the Five Corners. Main Street type organization is an organization where businesses and residents and community leaders that are involved in the city center get together on a regular basis and organize and voice what their needs are, what's needed to make downtown thrive. There are also fantastic assets for putting together great community events downtown. So these two ideas can really be melded together to make sure Essex Junction can shine as Essex Junction.
Wonderful. So this sounds like a lot of work. So if this is all implemented, how long would it take?
Well, the success of this plan hinges on the participation of both the public and private sector. We would need to both set the priority, the policy and regulatory groundwork to make all of this possible. But we would also need to leverage the funding and know-how of the private sector to make it happen. So while some parts of this plan can be achieved within the next 3 years or so, other parts of the plan will likely take 15 years or longer.
Wow. So we keep mentioning that this is a draft plan, and obviously we want people to review it. So where can people review the plan, and can they still provide feedback on it?
Absolutely. We're launching an online open house next week where participants will get an opportunity to review the highlights of the plan on their own time and to provide their comments through guided and open-ended survey questions.
Okay, so what about the people who don't have access to the internet or online? Is there any other ways that they can provide feedback?
Yeah, well, this project team is going to be engaging with the public at a variety of events, various in-person events throughout this whole summer. We'll also be reconvening the focus groups that met last year, and these focus groups include local businesses, housing developers, community leaders, and local students. And finally, the consulting team will be hosting an in-person open house later this summer, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. So what are the next steps after you receive the feedback for the draft master plan?
Well, our goal is to collect feedback and then to incorporate as much of it as we can into the final plan, which can then be adopted by the City Council in the fall of 2025.
Great. So is there anything else that we missed or you want to talk about or would like to add?
Well, I would just say, don't forget to check out connectthejunction.org and to sign up for the mailing list so you can keep up to date with this project.
All right, well, that was a lot of information, and the plan has a ton of information that we didn't get to cover today. So be sure to go to connectthejunction.org, check out that master plan, and give us feedback on it and tell us what you think about it and what we should incorporate in the final plan. So one other thing before we wrap up, I just want to mention that July 4th, we do have our Essex Junction 4th of July celebration that happens at the Champlain Valley Expo. It starts off at 6 p.m. and then around 9:30 is when those fireworks begin. It's a great, lots of fun for the community and family to come out, enjoy some fun food, play some games, and then finish out the night with our fireworks display. So be sure to check out the Essex Junction Recreation and Parks website for more information or their Facebook page. So that is all that we have for tonight. We hope that you will join us for our next edition of Junction City News, and be sure to check out our website for any of our previous episodes. I'm Ashley Snellenberger, and have a great night.